Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. When I was just 7 years old, I loaded up my wagon and I moved out. I moved down to my grandmother's house because the magic moment had arrived when the fear of staying became greater than the fear of making the change and leaving. Fellow Toastmasters and very welcome guests, there was a silver lining in that experience, and the experience taught me that I can make a change. No matter how fearful it may be, I will walk through that change. And because of it, I became a very mobile person. It prepared me for becoming a world traveler. I traveled to over 50 countries, many of them by myself. Not that I wasn't afraid to buy that ticket. I got over it though. I said, I'm going to do this. I bought the ticket and I thought I got over it until I was on the flight. My first trip to Europe. I was gripped with fear. As I sat in the seat so overwhelmed with fear, I asked myself, what is it that I'm really afraid of? And all these answers came to me. What it was is I was trying to think of every challenge all at once. I was trying to solve all these challenges while I was on that flight. And it was then that I realized that I started to apply a very important principle. There's now a book written about it. Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, The Power of Now. And I began to look at life exactly like that. If you're overwhelmed, if you're afraid, ask yourself, what is it you're afraid of? And chunk those fears down to one fear at a time. To just, what is it you're afraid of today? So I got over it. I really took a big step up in life. And I believe that the stairway to heaven in life, I believe I have a metaphor that every time you walk through a fear, you walk up that ladder every time. So I got to walk up really quick when I bought my ticket to Egypt after Anwar Sadat had been assassinated. And I read in Newsweek that martial law was declared. And I bought the ticket anyway. And I was on the flight and I felt very relaxed, more relaxed than I feel today. And I was relaxed until I stepped out of the plane, and what I wanted to do most was run back in and fly right back to Athens. I'll even buy the ticket back, I thought. But oh no, I walked through that fear, stepped out, and there were 100 soldiers at least behind sandbags, all pointing their weapon at what seemed to be me. So I got over it, talked to the immigration officer who said, where was I staying? Well, I never had a reservation on this trip, which is why I was probably so afraid of this trip. I never planned anything. I just bought a one-way ticket, and here I am now telling the immigration officer, well, I do have a place in mind. And he said, well, my advice is, madam, when you get to that hotel, if they don't have a room, you better stay there. And I said, okay, now that's the kind of fear. Here's a great example. This fear is here to help you. And I decided that I would stay in that hotel no matter what. Ask yourself when you feel afraid, what kind of fear are you experiencing? Sometimes there's borderline fears. Like I remember in Australia going to the outback. And I just had to see those animals. So at 3 in the morning, I drugged my girlfriend out of bed and we went looking for the animals. And the first sign of one coming out of the woods, I leaped on my friend's back. And she said, what makes you do this? Why do you bother trying to see wild animals if you're so afraid of them? Why don't you just stay in bed and sleep like the rest of the people back there? Because now we've lost our sleep, we haven't seen any animals. So why do you do that? Well, I told her I had read that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I really believe that the stairway to heaven exists. I believe when they say heaven on earth, what I think they're talking about is once you have walked through many fears in your life, and I believe we're all here to learn what our fears even are. We're all afraid of different things. And once you take on these fears, you start moving up that stairway, and finally you reach a place where true heaven on earth, I believe, exists, when you're at peace. When you are feeling like you want to do something, and you do it. You walk through that next level of fear, whatever that happens to be. And as this audience grows, you feel more and more like you're doing what you're supposed to do. That's why we came here. We came here to learn. We came here to grow. We came here to experience what can be a true heaven on earth, is when you have the freedom to be who you want to be, to say what comes to you, to have a large comfort zone in your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, next time you're afraid to do something and you want to do it anyway!